There is a powder that costs less than $1, which kills every termite inside your walls without drilling a single hole. It does not require tenting your house or evacuating your family for 3 days. It does not require a licensed exterminator or a $4,000 invoice. You apply it through the gaps that already exist in every American home, and it reaches places no drill bit ever could. The United States Navy developed the original formula over 100 years ago to protect warships from wood-destroying insects in tropical waters. Australia adopted it in the 1940s to shield entire neighborhoods from subterranean termite colonies. And once it penetrates wood, it never loses potency. Not in 10 years, not in 50, not ever. Termites cannot develop resistance to it because it does not attack them like a conventional pesticide. It destroys their ability to digest food, and every bite of your wall studs becomes their last meal. Then 41 countries restricted or banned it in consumer products. Not because it harmed people. The compound is roughly half as toxic as the table salt sitting in your kitchen right now. They restricted it because a $28 billion pest control industry cannot survive if homeowners solve the problem themselves for 90 cents. A powder that lasts forever inside wood cannot generate repeat service contracts. A treatment you apply once cannot justify annual inspection fees. And a solution that costs less than a cup of coffee cannot sustain 33,000 extermination companies across America. So they buried it behind licensing walls, state regulations, and professional-only product classifications. This is the story of the $1 termite killer that reaches inside your walls without ever touching a drill, and the industry that panicked when homeowners started figuring it out. Welcome to this channel. If you are not subscribed yet, hit subscribe and the bell. This is where we dig up what the industry buried. Now let me take you back to where this all started. In 1702, a French chemist named Wilhelm Homberg first isolated boric acid from borax and steam inside his laboratory in Paris. He documented the compound in the memoirs of the French Academy of Sciences as a white crystalline powder that dissolved easily in warm water, was odorless, nearly tasteless, and extraordinarily stable. Homberg noted that wood soaked in a boric solution resisted decay far longer than untreated timber stored in the same cellar under identical conditions. For 200 years, that discovery sat in academic journals gathering dust, while chemists referenced it only in footnotes about mineral compounds. Nobody connected it to structural pest control, and nobody imagined it could protect an entire house from the inside out. Then the United States Navy faced a crisis in its Pacific Fleet that nobody saw coming. Wooden ship components stationed in tropical ports were being devoured by marine borers and termites within months of deployment. The Navy commissioned engineers at the Bureau of Construction and Repair to develop a preservative that could survive salt water, extreme humidity, and relentless insect pressure simultaneously. Their answer was a borat compound dissolved in a glycol carrier liquid that changed everything. The glycol acted as a vehicle pulling the borat deep into the cellular structure of seasoned hardwood. Not just the surface, not just the first millimeter, all the way through to the heartwood. Once inside the timber, the borat bonded permanently with the cellulose fibers of the wood. Rain could not wash it out because the glycol locked it in place beneath the surface layer. No reapplication needed, no retreatment schedule. One application meant permanent protection for the life of the wood. The National Park Service later used this exact glycol borate formula to preserve irreplaceable totem poles in Alaska that had survived centuries of Pacific storms. By 1934, researchers named Randall and Doody published the first formal, peer-reviewed studies, confirming that boric acid killed termites reliably in both laboratory and field conditions. Every eastern subterranean termite exposed to boric acid powder for just 60 seconds died within 8 days without exception. A landmark study at the Biointegral Research Center in Berkeley, California, tested Formosan termites, the most destructive species on the entire North American continent. All Formosan specimens died within 3 weeks when fed wood treated with a boric acid concentration of just 0.06%. That is 0.06%, an amount so small that researchers initially assumed their instruments were miscalibrated. They repeated the experiment 3 times and got the same devastating result every single time. Australia recognized this data before anyone else on the planet, and by the 1940s, borate wood treatments became standard building practice across Queensland and New South Wales. Hundreds of thousands of homes were treated over the following decades, and the method worked so well that Australian building codes began requiring borat-treated lumber in all termite-prone construction zones. 12 years of formal efficacy studies on the commercial borate formula confirm that treated wood simply stops being food for termites, beetles, carpenter ants, and decay fungi. Over 40 additional peer-reviewed studies validated the results across every major wood-destroying species documented in residential construction. More than 2 million American homes have been treated with glycol borate solutions since the technology became commercially available in the late 1980s. But here is where the story gets uncomfortable for the industry. This information is just the tip of the iceberg. I have collected everything the pest control industry does not want you to know, all inside the complete hidden vault. This includes the full borat wall penetration guide with exact glycol ratios, mixing temperatures, and injection maps for every common wall type in American residential construction. It contains the foam application blueprint showing how to reach every wall cavity through existing electrical outlets, plumbing penetrations, and baseboard gaps without drilling a single hole into your drywall. There is the Termite Species Identification Field Manual covering subterranean, dry wood, damp wood, and Formosan colonies with damage pattern photographs and behavioral markers. Also included is the hidden moisture elimination checklist that removes the one condition termites require to survive inside your structure, and the complete perimeter bait station system you build yourself for under $5 each that professional companies charge $300 per unit to install. Plus, every suppressed technique from every vault we have ever opened is all in one place with no filler. The link is in the description. But stay here because the science of how this reaches termites inside sealed walls without drilling is the part the industry really does not want you to hear. Here is why exterminators insist you must drill holes every 12 inches across your walls to treat a termite colony. Their standard liquid termiticides are water-based chemical formulations designed to create a barrier in the soil around your foundation. Water does not penetrate seasoned dried lumber. It pools on the surface, evaporates within hours, and leaves behind a thin residue that degrades within 5 to 10 years. That is not a design flaw. That is a business model built on planned obsolescence. A treatment that expires is a treatment that generates a callback, another inspection fee, and another four-figure invoice. The glycol borate system works on a completely different principle that the industry has spent decades trying to keep out of the consumer market. Glycol is a thick carrier liquid that does not evaporate like water. It penetrates wood by capillary action the same way sap moves through a living tree. When you dissolve borate in glycol and apply it to any exposed wood surface, the solution migrates through the grain, through the cell walls, and deposits borate crystals deep inside the timber structure. Independent testing confirmed that glycol borate penetrated seasoned Douglas fir to a depth of over 3/4 of an inch in a single application without pressure treatment. A water-based borate solution applied to the same wood under identical conditions penetrated less than 1/16 of an inch before drying on the surface. That is a penetration difference of over 12 times deeper with the glycol carrier versus water alone. The industry knows this. Every major pest control corporation knows this, and they sell products containing this exact technology at professional market prices while telling homeowners it is too dangerous or too complicated to apply themselves. The numbers get worse from here. If you have made it this far, you already know more about termite protection than 99% of American homeowners. Subscribe and share this with someone who is still writing $4,000 checks to an exterminator for a problem that 90 cents of powder could have prevented. Everything the industry buried is inside the complete hidden vault. The link is in the description. Now stay with me because the next part is the heaviest one yet. So why is this not common knowledge? Why does every pest control company in America not simply hand you a bag of boric acid and wish you luck? Because the answer is sitting in the financial reports of the corporations that profit from your ignorance. The pest control industry in the United States generated $28.5 billion in revenue last year alone, with over 33,000 businesses competing for that money. Termites alone are responsible for more than $5 billion in structural property damage across the country every single year. That is $5 billion in damage and an entire industry built around charging you thousands to fix it and then thousands more to prevent it from happening again. The average professional termite treatment for a standard American home costs between $2,000 and $4,300. Many companies require annual renewal contracts that run between $300 and $500 per year for the rest of the life of the home. That is the model. Damage creates fear. Fear creates urgency. And urgency creates customers who do not ask questions about price. The last thing that model can tolerate is a homeowner who discovers that the active ingredient inside most commercial termiticides is the same boric acid compound available at any hardware store for less than $1 per pound. Boric acid is literally an ingredient in over 200 registered pesticide products sold commercially in the United States right now. The professional formulas add proprietary polymers, solvents, and carrier agents to justify a markup that exceeds 3,000%. The boric acid does the killing. Everything else in the bottle exists to justify the price tag on the shelf. The global termite control market alone is projected to reach nearly $8 billion by 2030, growing at over 6% per year. Rentokil, the largest pest control conglomerate on Earth, recently acquired Terminix to create a $10 billion revenue empire spanning 90 countries. BASF dominates the liquid barrier category with a product called Termidor, sold in 22 separate formulations designed to lock homeowners into retreatment cycles. These corporations do not want you mixing boric acid in your kitchen for $12. They need you afraid, they need you dependent, and they need you convinced that termite control requires a professional license and a four-figure check. Now here is the part they absolutely do not want you to know: how to get this powder inside your walls without drilling a single hole. Every American home already has dozens of existing penetrations through its wall cavities that you never thought of as access points. Electrical outlet boxes sit inside wall cavities between studs. Remove the cover plate, and you are looking directly into the void between your interior drywall and your exterior sheathing. Plumbing penetrations where pipes enter walls beneath sinks, behind toilets, and under bathtubs create gaps that lead straight into stud cavities running floor to ceiling. Baseboard gaps along the bottom of walls where the drywall meets the floor plate often have quarter-inch openings that connect directly to the wall void below. Attic access points allow you to treat the top plates of walls from above, letting gravity carry the powder downward through the entire stud bay over the following days. Crawl space access gives you direct line of sight to the bottom plates, sill plates, and floor joists where subterranean termites enter the structure from the soil beneath your home. Here is the method step by step. Get a standard bellows duster from any hardware store for under $15 and fill it with pure boric acid powder, which costs between $3 and $8 per pound at any home improvement center. Remove electrical outlet cover plates along exterior walls and partition walls in the affected areas of your home. Insert the duster nozzle into the gap between the outlet box and the drywall and pump 3 to 4 puffs of powder into the wall cavity. The fine particles distribute through the stud bay like smoke filling a sealed room, coating every exposed wood surface inside that wall section. In the attic, locate the top plates of the walls directly above the rooms where you suspect termite activity and apply a generous dusting into each open stud bay from above. In the crawl space, dust the sill plates, rim joists, floor joists, and any exposed wood where it contacts the foundation with heavy attention to any visible mud tubes. Break any active mud tube open, dust the interior heavily, and dust a 6-inch perimeter around every entry point you can identify. For permanent deep penetration into finished structural wood, mix your own glycol borate concentrate at home using a formula the Navy perfected over a century ago. Combine 1 gallon of propylene glycol with 4 and 1/2 lbs of borax and 3 and 1/2 lbs of boric acid powder in a metal container. Heat gently until a candy thermometer reads 260 degrees Celsius to drive off the water of crystallization from the borax crystals. Let it cool completely, then dilute the concentrate 50-50 with warm water just before application. This creates the exact same active solution that professional products sell for $40 to $60 per gallon. Your total cost is under $12 for the same volume. Apply with a brush or pump sprayer to any exposed wood surface in your crawl space, basement, attic, or garage, and the glycol carrier will pull the barat deep into the wood fibers permanently. A homeowner in Fort Myers, Florida, documented his entire process online after a pest control company quoted him $4,300 to tend his house for drywood termites. He spent $47 total on boric acid powder, a bellows duster, and borax from the laundry aisle at his local hardware store. He treated every wall cavity through existing electrical outlets, every joist in his crawl space, and every rafter tie in his attic over a single weekend. 2.5 years later, he reported zero termite activity during his professional annual inspection. His entire home was protected for the price of a decent lunch. Now, I need to be honest with you about one important limitation because this channel does not hide inconvenient facts. Boric acid is extraordinarily effective for prevention and for early to moderate infestations where structural integrity has not been compromised. But if your home has severe structural damage from an advanced colony that has been feeding undetected for years, you need a structural assessment before treatment. Boric acid kills the termites, but it does not repair the wood they already consumed. If your floor feels spongy underfoot or your door frames are visibly warped, get a professional evaluation of the remaining structural integrity first, then treat with borat to ensure the colony never returns. That honest distinction is what separates responsible use of this knowledge from reckless application. And the industry hates that I just told you this because it destroys their argument that DIY termite control is inherently dangerous. The reality is that the vast majority of termite situations in American homes can be prevented or controlled with boric acid applied through the access points that already exist in your walls. The termites did not build those walls, you did. And every wall you build has gaps around wiring, around plumbing, and where drywall meets framing. The industry spends millions teaching you to fear what lives inside those walls, while they never once mentioned that those same gaps are the delivery system for the cheapest and most permanent termite treatment ever documented. Your grandfather knew about borax, and he sprinkled it along his foundation every spring without ever paying a pest control company a single dime in his entire life. Then the industry spent decades convincing your generation that termite control required a professional license, specialized equipment, and a check with 4 figures on it. The powder did not change, your confidence did. This knowledge did not die. It was waiting on the shelf at every hardware store in the country, waiting for someone to open the vault. If this story changed the way you look at the very walls of your home, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. We are dedicated to unearthing the history and the solutions that the industry has tried so hard to bury. Take control of your home's future. The next vault of hidden knowledge will be opened very soon.